Hi class, I'm going to read you another book about family. This book is called Elizabeti's Doll, and it's written by Stephanie and Stuvie Bodine, and it's illustrated by Christy Hale. And this book is an Ezra Jack Keats Book Award, so it has a special award. And I really like this book because it shows a family that's from another place. They don't live in Alaska, they're from another country. And it's fun to see what some of what their family traditions are and how they take care of their babies in some ways that are alike to how we take care of babies here, and in other ways they're a little bit different. And I know that a lot of kiddos in our class have baby brothers or baby sisters, so they might be able to relate to this. Elizabeti had a new baby brother named Obadiah. Elizabeti watched Mama take care of him, and she wanted to take care of her own baby. And I know in my house, when we had new babies, my older kids, they wanted dollies too. She didn't have a doll, so she went outside and she picked up a stick. She tried to hug it, but it poked her, and she dropped it on the ground. Then Elizabeti picked up a rock. It was just the right size to hold, and it didn't poke Elizabeti when she hugged it. She kissed the rock, and she named it Eva. Mama fed Obadiah, and he gave a loud burp. Elizabeti fed Eva, but she was too polite to burp. Mama changed the cloth wrapped around Obadiah's bottom, and it was very messy. Elizabeti was very relieved to find that Eva's bottom was still clean. When Mama did her chores, she tied Obadiah onto her back with a bright colored cloth cover called a kinga. There's the baby in the kinga. When Elizabeti did her chores, she also tied Eva onto her back with a kinga. Mama had to help her just a little. So there's her baby in her kinga. Elizabeti went to visit her friend Rahili. Rahili laughed when she saw that Elizabeti had a rock for a doll. But Rahili didn't have a doll either, so when Elizabeti left, Rahili found her own rock and named it Malusi. When Elizabeti got home, it was time for her to get water from the village well, because that was her chore for her family. She took Eva out of the kinga and laid her on the ground near some other rocks so that she wouldn't be lonely. Then Elizabeti wrapped the kinga into a small bundle, put it on top of her head, and placed the water jug on top of the kinga. This was how she always carried water and any other heavy things. So in this culture, when they had to carry heavy things, they'd put them on top of their heads, and then they'd carry them that way, which is different than how we carry things. Elizabeti soon returned with the water and took it to her sister Pendo inside the cooking hut, where all the family's meals were made. Then Elizabeti ran outside to get Eva, but Eva was gone. Elizabeti looked all around, but she couldn't find Eva. I wonder how she's feeling, because she can't find her doll. Mama found a new rock and gave it to Elizabeti. Elizabeti shook her head when she saw it. That rock was just a rock. Pendo also brought Elizabeti a rock, but it wasn't Eva either. If you look really closely, she's really upset. She's very sad. Elizabeti was very sad and sat quietly until it was time to help Pendo in the cooking hut. The family had rice for dinner every night, and it was Elizabeti's job to put the pot on the fire pit, which was made of 3 large stones. Elizabeti sadly filled the pot with water and set it on the stones to boil. But one of the stones wasn't a stone at all. It was Eva. Elizabeti called for Mama, and together they moved the pot of water and rolled Eva away from the fire. Although Eva was a bit dirty, she hadn't been hurt. Pendle ran outside to get a new stone for the fire pit, which is just how poor Eva had become lost. Eva sat quietly while Elizabeti cleaned her off and hugged her. At bedtime, Mama sang a lullaby and rocked Obadiah in her arms until he fell asleep. Elizabeti sang a lullaby too, but she fell asleep before Eva did. Mama covered Elizabeti and Eva with a blanket. She smiled and thought that one day Elizabeti would make a fine mother, and Eva thought so too. And that's the end of Elizabeti's doll.